In the shadowy depths of the Cold War, the CIA embarked on a series of secret experiments that would come to be known as MK-Ultra, a chilling tale of mind control, human experimentation, and the pursuit of psychological warfare. Join us as we uncover the disturbing truths behind MK-Ultra. The origins of MK-Ultra are rooted in the geopolitical and ideological conflicts of the early Cold War period. Following World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as the two dominant superpowers, leading to a tense and prolonged standoff known as the Cold War. This era was characterized by a fierce competition for global influence, technological supremacy, and military advantage. Amid this backdrop, the U.S. government became increasingly concerned about the possibility that Soviet and Chinese intelligence agencies had developed sophisticated techniques for mind control and brainwashing. These fears were further fueled by reports of American prisoners of war in Korea who appeared to have been indoctrinated or manipulated by their captors. The CIA, established in 1947 with a mandate to gather and analyze intelligence and conduct covert operations, took these concerns very seriously. The agency's leadership believed that understanding and countering potential communist brainwashing techniques was crucial to national security. This belief led to the initiation of several covert projects aimed at exploring the limits of human cognition and behavior. One of the earliest and most significant of these projects was Project Bluebird, which later evolved into Project Artichoke. These programs laid the groundwork for what would eventually become MK-Ultra. Project Bluebird, launched in 1950, focused on investigating methods for controlling human behavior through various means, including hypnosis, drugs, and psychological manipulation. The project's scope was relatively narrow initially, but as the Cold War intensified, the CIA sought to expand its research into more ambitious and far-reaching areas. Project Artichoke, which followed Bluebird, continued these efforts, delving deeper into the potential for drugs and hypnosis to extract information from unwilling subjects and to create amnesia or altered states of consciousness. The transition from Project Artichoke to MK-Ultra occurred in 1953 under the direction of CIA Director Allen Dulles and the program's chief architect, Dr. Sidney Gottlieb. Gottlieb, a chemist with a background in biochemistry and pharmacology, was tasked with overseeing the program's diverse and secretive experiments. Under his leadership, MK-Ultra grew into a massive, multifaceted project that explored a wide range of techniques for mind control and psychological manipulation. The program's name, MK-Ultra, is believed to derive from the combination of MK, indicating the agency's technical services staff, and Ultra, a term used during World War II to denote highly classified intelligence. MK-Ultra was officially sanctioned on April 13, 1953, with the signing of a directive by CIA Director Allen Dulles. This directive authorized the use of various methods, including drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, and other techniques to explore their potential for controlling human behavior. The program's goals were ambitious and, at times, ill-defined, reflecting the CIA's broad interest in understanding and manipulating the human mind. One of the central objectives of MK-Ultra was to develop a reliable means of extracting information from individuals against their will. This included exploring the use of so-called truth serums, drugs that could lower inhibitions and compel subjects to reveal information. The CIA was particularly interested in substances that could be administered covertly, allowing operatives to gather intelligence without the subject's knowledge. LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide, quickly became a focal point of this research due to its powerful hallucinogenic effects and its potential to alter perception and consciousness. The early years of MK-Ultra were marked by a sense of urgency and experimentation. The program operated under a cloak of secrecy, with few outside the CIA's inner circle aware of its existence. The agency established front organizations to fund research at universities, hospitals, and private institutions, often without the knowledge of the researchers involved. This approach allowed the CIA to conduct its experiments under the guise of legitimate scientific inquiry, further obscuring the program's true nature. One of the most controversial aspects of MKUltra was its use of human subjects without their informed consent. The CIA targeted a wide range of individuals, including prisoners, mental patients, and members of marginalized communities, for its experiments. These subjects were often unaware that they were part of a government research program and were subjected to various forms of psychological and physical manipulation. The ethical implications of these experiments were profound, as they violated fundamental principles of autonomy and human rights. MKUltra's experiments were diverse and wide-ranging, reflecting the program's broad mandate. In addition to drug testing, researchers explored techniques such as hypnosis, electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, sensory deprivation, and isolation. Hypnosis was investigated as a means of inducing suggestibility and controlling behavior, with researchers attempting to determine whether individuals could be compelled to perform actions against their will while under hypnosis. ECT, originally developed as a treatment for severe mental illness, was used in attempts to erase memories and alter behavior, often with little regard for the well-being of the subjects. Sensory deprivation and isolation were also key areas of experimentation under MKUltra. Subjects were placed in isolation tanks or deprived of sensory input for extended periods, leading to altered states of consciousness and increased suggestibility. These experiments were designed to explore the limits of human endurance and the potential for manipulating perception and behavior through sensory manipulation. The use of LSD was perhaps the most infamous aspect of MKUltra's research. Dr. Sidney Gottlieb and his team believed that LSD had the potential to unlock hidden aspects of the mind and to induce states of consciousness that could be controlled and manipulated. The CIA conducted numerous experiments with LSD, often administering the drug to unwitting subjects and observing the results. These experiments took place in various settings, including hospitals, universities, and CIA safe houses. One such project, Operation Midnight Climax, involved setting up brothels in San Francisco and New York, where sex workers would administer LSD to their clients without their knowledge. CIA operatives would then observe the effects through one-way mirrors, documenting the subject's reactions and behavior. The experiments conducted under MKUltra were not limited to the United States. The CIA collaborated with intelligence agencies and research institutions in other countries, conducting experiments abroad to bypass legal and ethical constraints that might have been more stringent domestically. One notable example was the collaboration with Dr. Ewan Cameron in Canada. Cameron, a prominent psychiatrist, conducted experiments at the Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal, funded in part by the CIA. His work involved extreme forms of psychological manipulation, including psychic driving techniques, which subjected patients to repeated audio messages for days or weeks in an attempt to erase and reprogram their minds. These experiments left many patients with severe psychological and physical damage, leading to legal battles and demands for accountability. The scale and scope of MKUltra's experiments were vast, reflecting the CIA's determination to explore every possible avenue for controlling the human mind. The program operated with minimal oversight and virtually unlimited funding, allowing researchers to pursue their often bizarre and dangerous theories with impunity. The lack of informed consent and the disregard for the well-being of subjects were flagrant violations of ethical standards, raising serious questions about the CIA's commitment to human rights and the rule of law. The secrecy surrounding MKUltra began to unravel in the early 1970s, as investigative journalists and whistleblowers started to expose the program's activities. The revelations of unethical and illegal experiments conducted under the guise of national security sparked public outrage and led to calls for accountability. The Church Committee, established in 1975, conducted a comprehensive investigation into the abuses perpetrated by the CIA and other intelligence agencies, uncovering the full extent of MKUltra's activities and its impact on the victims. In conclusion, The origins of MK-Ultra are deeply entwined with the geopolitical tensions and ideological conflicts of the early Cold War period. Driven by fears of communist brainwashing and a desire to gain a strategic advantage, the CIA embarked on a secretive and ethically dubious program to explore the limits of human cognition and behavior. Under the direction of Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, MK-Ultra encompassed a wide range of experiments involving drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and other techniques, often conducted without the knowledge or consent of the subjects. The program's activities reflected a profound disregard for ethical standards and human rights, ultimately leading to significant public backlash and legislative reforms aimed at preventing similar abuses in the future. The legacy of MK-Ultra serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked governmental power and the importance of transparency, accountability, and ethical principles in protecting human dignity. The experiments conducted under the auspices of MK-Ultra were varied and extensive, encompassing a broad array of techniques and methodologies aimed at understanding and controlling the human mind. The project, which began in the early 1950s, was driven by the Cold War imperative to develop effective psychological and mind control techniques that could be used against perceived enemies. The CIA's motivations were rooted in the fear that the Soviet Union, China, and North Korea had developed methods of brainwashing and psychological manipulation that the United States needed to counter. As a result, MK-Ultra became one of the most ambitious and ethically dubious programs in the history of intelligence operations. The central figure behind MK-Ultra was Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, a chemist and CIA officer who was tasked with overseeing the project. Gottlieb's approach was eclectic and experimental, involving a wide range of substances and psychological techniques. He believed that through the use of drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and other methods, the CIA could unlock the secrets of mind control. Under his direction, MK-Ultra included 149 sub-projects, each exploring different facets of psychological manipulation. One of the most infamous aspects of MK-Ultra was its extensive use of LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide. LSD, a powerful hallucinogenic drug, was seen by the CIA as a potential truth serum or mind control agent. Gottlieb and his team believed that LSD could be used to break down an individual's mental defenses, making them more susceptible to suggestion and control. The experiments with LSD were conducted on a wide variety of subjects, often without their knowledge or consent. These subjects included CIA employees, military personnel, prisoners, mental patients, and members of the general public. In many cases, subjects were given LSD without any warning or explanation, leading to severe psychological distress and lasting trauma. The effects of the drug were unpredictable, and many subjects experienced terrifying hallucinations, paranoia, and psychotic episodes. One of the most notorious examples of these experiments involved Frank Olson, a biochemist and civilian employee of the U.S. Army. Olson was unknowingly dosed with LSD by Gottlieb and subsequently suffered a mental breakdown. He was later found dead under suspicious circumstances, having fallen from a hotel window in New York City. While the official explanation was suicide, many believe that Olson's death was a direct result of the MK-Ultra experiments and subsequent cover-up. The use of LSD was not limited to isolated incidents. In one particularly egregious case, the CIA funded a project known as Operation Midnight Climax. This sub-project involved setting up safe houses in San Francisco and New York City, where sex workers were used to lure unwitting men into taking LSD. The CIA operatives would then observe the effects of the drug on these individuals through one-way mirrors, often recording their reactions without their knowledge. These experiments were part of the agency's broader effort to explore the potential of LSD as a tool for mind control and interrogation. In addition to LSD, MK-Ultra researchers experimented with a variety of other drugs and substances, including mescaline, psilocybin, and barbiturates. These drugs were tested on human subjects in an attempt to induce states of amnesia, manipulate behavior, and extract information. The goal was to find a reliable method of breaking down an individual's mental defenses and controlling their actions. The ethical implications of these experiments were profound, as they often involved the administration of drugs without informed consent and exposed subjects to significant risks. Beyond drug experimentation, MK-Ultra encompassed a wide range of psychological techniques designed to manipulate and control the human mind. Hypnosis was one such technique, with researchers exploring its potential to induce suggestibility and alter behavior. Subjects were hypnotized and subjected to various suggestions and commands, with the aim of determining how deeply hypnosis could penetrate the human psyche and whether it could be used to control behavior. Sensory deprivation was another key area of experimentation. Subjects were placed in isolation tanks, deprived of sensory input for extended periods. The lack of sensory stimulation was intended to induce altered states of consciousness and make individuals more susceptible to suggestion. These experiments often resulted in severe psychological distress, with subjects experiencing hallucinations, anxiety, and disorientation. Electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, was also employed as part of the MK-Ultra program. Originally developed as a treatment for severe mental illness, ECT involves passing electrical currents through the brain to induce seizures. Under MK-Ultra, ECT was used to explore its potential for erasing memories and altering behavior. Subjects were subjected to repeated sessions of ECT, often with little regard for their well-being, leading to significant cognitive and physical harm. One of the most disturbing aspects of MK-Ultra was the exploitation of vulnerable populations for experimentation. Prisoners, mental patients, and individuals in marginal social positions were often used as subjects, as they were seen as expendable and less likely to raise objections. These individuals were subjected to invasive and harmful procedures without their consent, raising serious ethical and human rights concerns. In addition to the domestic experiments, MK-Ultra extended its reach internationally. The CIA collaborated with intelligence agencies and research institutions in other countries to conduct experiments abroad. These collaborations allowed the CIA to bypass ethical and legal constraints that might have been more stringent in the United States. For example, MK-Ultra operatives worked with Canadian psychiatrist Dr. Ewan Cameron, who conducted brutal experiments on patients at the Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal. Cameron's psychic driving techniques involved intensive and prolonged treatments, including the use of drugs, sensory deprivation, and repetitive audio messages in an attempt to erase and reprogram patients' minds. The long-term damage inflicted on these patients was profound, leading to legal battles and demands for accountability. The sheer scale and audacity of the MK-Ultra experiments were staggering. The program operated with minimal oversight and virtually unlimited funding, allowing researchers to pursue their often bizarre and dangerous theories with impunity. The lack of informed consent and the disregard for the well-being of subjects were flagrant violations of ethical standards and human rights. The impact of MK-Ultra on its subjects was devastating. Many individuals suffered lasting psychological and physical harm as a result of the experiments. The trauma inflicted by these experiments often led to chronic mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, and PTSD. In some cases, subjects were driven to suicide or suffered permanent cognitive impairments. The broader implications of MK-Ultra extend beyond the individual victims. The program exposed the potential for abuse inherent in secret government operations and highlighted the need for transparency and accountability. The ethical breaches committed under MK-Ultra are a stark reminder of the importance of informed consent and the protection of human rights in research. The exposure of MK-Ultra had a profound impact on public trust in government institutions. The revelations of the program's activities fueled a growing sense of skepticism and distrust towards the CIA and other intelligence agencies. The scandal contributed to a broader questioning of government secrecy and the extent to which ethical and legal standards should constrain state power. In response to the MK-Ultra revelations, there were calls for greater oversight and accountability within the intelligence community. Congressional investigations, such as the Church Committee, played a crucial role in uncovering the extent of the abuses and recommending reforms to prevent future misconduct. These investigations led to the establishment of permanent intelligence oversight committees and the implementation of policies aimed at increasing transparency and protecting civil liberties. The legacy of MKUltra continues to resonate today, serving as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked governmental power and the importance of ethical standards in research. The program's history underscores the need for vigilance in protecting human rights and ensuring that the pursuit of knowledge and security does not come at the expense of individual dignity and well-being. In conclusion, the experiments conducted under MKUltra were characterized by a profound disregard for ethical standards and human rights. The program's use of drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and other techniques to manipulate and control the human mind resulted in significant harm to its subjects. The exposure of MKUltra's activities highlighted the potential for abuse in secret government operations and led to important reforms aimed at increasing oversight and accountability. The legacy of MKUltra serves as a powerful reminder of the need to uphold ethical principles and protect human rights in all aspects of research and intelligence activities. The dark side of MKUltra, marked by ethical breaches and human rights violations, began to emerge as details of the program were revealed. The methods employed by the CIA under this program not only pushed the boundaries of scientific inquiry, but also breached the fundamental principles of medical ethics and human rights. The inhumane nature of many of these experiments led to severe psychological and physical harm to countless individuals. The lack of informed consent was one of the most egregious aspects of MKUltra. Many subjects were unaware that they were being experimented upon, having been administered drugs or subjected to psychological manipulations without their knowledge. This breach of consent was a fundamental violation of ethical standards in medical and psychological research, emphasizing the necessity of informed consent to protect the autonomy and dignity of participants. LSD, the powerful hallucinogenic drug, was a central focus of MKUltra's experimentation. Sidney Gottlieb and his team believed that LSD had the potential to manipulate the human mind, making it a valuable tool for interrogation and mind control. The administration of LSD to unsuspecting individuals was widespread. These experiments were often conducted in clandestine settings, such as safe houses set up by the CIA in San Francisco and New York, known as Operation Midnight Climax. Here, sex workers were used to lure men into taking LSD, after which CIA operatives would observe the drug's effects through one-way mirrors. These subjects, who had no idea they were being drugged, often experienced extreme distress, hallucinations, and paranoia. The case of Frank Olson, a biochemist working for the U.S. Army, is particularly notorious. Olson was dosed with LSD without his knowledge during a CIA retreat. He subsequently experienced a severe mental breakdown and began questioning his work and the ethical implications of the experiments he was involved in. Just days after being drugged, Olson fell to his death from a hotel window in New York City. Officially ruled a suicide, his death has been the subject of numerous investigations and theories suggesting foul play, driven by Olson's potential knowledge of sensitive information related to the CIA's activities. The impact of these experiments extended beyond the immediate effects of the drugs administered. Many subjects experienced long-term psychological trauma. The unpredictable and often terrifying nature of the LSD experience left lasting scars. Individuals reported chronic anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. The lack of follow-up care and support for these subjects compounded their suffering, as many were left to cope with the aftermath on their own. Electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, and other forms of extreme physical intervention were also utilized in MKUltra experiments. Subjects were often subjected to repeated sessions of ECT, sometimes combined with the administration of drugs, in attempts to induce amnesia or alter their behavior. These procedures were carried out with little regard for the well-being of the subjects, leading to significant physical and cognitive impairments. The use of ECT in this context was a gross misuse of a medical treatment originally intended to alleviate severe mental illness. Another disturbing aspect of MKUltra was the exploitation of vulnerable populations. The CIA targeted prisoners, mental patients, and individuals from marginalized communities, exploiting their lack of power and societal support. These populations were seen as expendable and less likely to protest or expose the abuses they suffered. This targeting of vulnerable individuals was a blatant violation of ethical standards, which mandate the protection of those who cannot fully advocate for themselves. One of the most notorious figures associated with MKUltra's dark experiments was Dr. Ewan Cameron, a respected psychiatrist based in Canada. Cameron's work at the Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal involved extreme forms of psychological manipulation and brainwashing techniques. Funded in part by the CIA, Cameron's experiments included psychic driving, where patients were subjected to repeated audio messages played continuously for days or weeks, designed to erase their existing memories and reprogram their thoughts. These patients, who sought help for minor psychiatric issues, often left Cameron's care with severe psychological and physical damage. Many were rendered unable to function normally due to the intense and invasive nature of the treatments they endured. The ethical breaches of MKUltra extended to academic institutions and private research organizations. The CIA covertly funded research projects at universities and hospitals across the United States and Canada, often without the knowledge of the institutions themselves. Professors and researchers, sometimes unwittingly, conducted experiments that contributed to MKUltra's objectives. The involvement of respected academic institutions lent an air of legitimacy to the program, masking the unethical nature of the experiments conducted under its umbrella. The CIA's lack of oversight and accountability allowed MKUltra to operate with impunity. The program was shrouded in secrecy, with its activities hidden from public scrutiny and even from other branches of the government. This lack of transparency facilitated widespread abuses and prevented early detection of ethical violations. When individuals within the agency raised concerns, they were often ignored or suppressed, allowing the program to continue unchecked. As the details of MKUltra began to emerge, the reaction from the public and the media was one of shock and outrage. Investigative journalists played a crucial role in uncovering the extent of the program's abuses. In the 1970s, a series of reports and books exposed the CIA's covert activities, bringing the horrors of MKUltra into the public eye. The revelations prompted calls for accountability and led to congressional investigations aimed at uncovering the full extent of the program. The Church Committee, established in 1975 and chaired by Senator Frank Church, conducted a comprehensive investigation into the abuses perpetrated by the CIA and other intelligence agencies. The committee's work revealed the depth of the MKUltra program and its violations of ethical standards and human rights. The testimonies of victims and whistleblowers painted a harrowing picture of the suffering inflicted by the program. The Church Committee's findings were instrumental in prompting significant reforms within the intelligence community. One of the key outcomes of the Church Committee's work was the establishment of permanent intelligence oversight committees in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. These committees were tasked with providing ongoing scrutiny of the activities of intelligence agencies, ensuring greater transparency and accountability. The creation of these oversight bodies marked a significant step towards preventing future abuses and restoring public trust in the intelligence community. The exposure of MKUltra also led to changes in the laws and regulations governing research on human subjects. The National Research Act of 1974 established the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research, which was charged with developing ethical guidelines for research involving human subjects. The Commission's work culminated in the publication of the Belmont Report in 1979, which outlined the fundamental ethical principles that should guide all research involving human subjects: respect for persons, beneficence, and justice. These principles have since become the cornerstone of ethical research practices, ensuring that the rights and welfare of participants are protected. The long-term impact of MKUltra on its victims cannot be overstated. Many of those subjected to the program's experiments suffered lasting psychological and physical harm. The lack of informed consent, the use of deception, and the invasive nature of the experiments left deep scars on individuals and their families. Efforts to seek justice and reparations have been ongoing, with survivors and their advocates fighting for recognition and compensation for the suffering endured. The legacy of MKUltra also includes a broader cultural and societal impact. The program has become a symbol of the dangers of unchecked governmental power and the potential for abuse in the name of national security. It has fueled numerous conspiracy theories and remains a topic of fascination and fear in popular culture. Books, films, and documentaries exploring the dark history of MKUltra continue to capture the public's imagination, reflecting ongoing concerns about the balance between security and human rights. In conclusion, the dark side of MKUltra is a harrowing chapter in the history of the CIA and intelligence operations. The program's widespread ethical breaches and human rights violations inflicted significant harm on countless individuals, exploiting vulnerable populations and violating fundamental principles of medical ethics. The lack of informed consent, the use of extreme psychological and physical interventions, and the targeting of marginalized groups highlight the profound ethical failings of MKUltra. The program's exposure led to important reforms and ongoing efforts to ensure that such abuses are never repeated. MKUltra's legacy is a powerful reminder of the importance of ethical standards, transparency, and accountability in protecting human rights and dignity. The exposure and aftermath of MKUltra marked a turning point in public awareness and understanding of the potential for government overreach and abuse. As details of the CIA's clandestine mind control experiments came to light, a wave of shock, outrage, and demands for accountability swept across the United States. The process of exposing MKUltra was arduous and fraught with resistance, but it ultimately led to significant changes in how intelligence agencies operated and how the government handled issues of transparency and ethics in research. The first inklings of MKUltra's existence began to surface in the early 1970s. Investigative journalists, spurred by tips from whistleblowers and a growing public distrust of government institutions, began to dig into rumors of unethical experiments conducted by the CIA. Among the most notable journalists were Seymour Hersh, whose groundbreaking reporting for the New York Times helped to bring the story to the public's attention. Hersh's 1974 article exposed various illegal activities by the CIA, including domestic surveillance and experiments on American citizens. This initial exposure led to increased scrutiny and calls for a formal investigation. In response, Congress established the Church Committee in 1975, officially known as the United States Senate Select Committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligence activities. Chaired by Senator Frank Church, the committee's mandate was to investigate abuses by the intelligence community, including those related to MKUltra. The Church Committee hearings were a watershed moment in the history of American intelligence oversight. The hearings, which were televised and watched by millions, provided a platform for former CIA operatives, government officials, and victims of MKUltra to testify about the program's activities and its impact. The testimonies were often harrowing, revealing the depths of the CIA's unethical practices. One of the most damning testimonies came from Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, the mastermind behind MKUltra. Under intense questioning, Gottlieb admitted to authorizing and overseeing numerous experiments that involved the administration of LSD and other drugs to unwitting subjects. His testimony highlighted the CIA's disregard for human rights and ethical standards, as well as the agency's willingness to exploit vulnerable populations for the sake of national security. The Church Committee also heard from victims of MKUltra, whose personal stories underscored the human cost of the CIA's experiments. Individuals like Linda MacDonald, who had been subjected to Dr. Ewan Cameron's brutal psychic driving techniques in Canada, described the lasting trauma and psychological damage they endured. Their testimonies brought a human face to the abstract concept of government overreach and made clear the need for accountability and reform. The revelations of the Church Committee were corroborated by the release of thousands of declassified documents related to MKUltra. In 1977, in response to a Freedom of Information Act (FOIA) request, the CIA released over 20,000 pages of documents that provided detailed accounts of the experiments conducted under MKUltra. These documents, which had miraculously survived despite then CIA Director Richard Helms's order to destroy all MKUltra files in 1973, offered a comprehensive view of the program's scope and methods. The declassified documents revealed the extensive network of researchers and institutions involved in MKUltra. They showed how the CIA had funneled money through front organizations to universities, hospitals, and private research institutions, often without the knowledge of the institutions themselves. This web of funding and deception allowed the CIA to conduct its experiments under the guise of legitimate research, further obscuring the unethical nature of its activities. The exposure of MKUltra led to a series of legislative and regulatory changes aimed at preventing future abuses. One of the most significant outcomes was the establishment of permanent intelligence oversight committees in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. These committees were tasked with providing ongoing scrutiny of the activities of intelligence agencies, ensuring that such abuses could not occur again without oversight. The National Research Act of 1974 was another critical piece of legislation that emerged in the aftermath of MKUltra. The act established the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research, which was charged with developing ethical guidelines for research involving human subjects. The Commission's work culminated in the publication of the Belmont Report in 1979, which outlined fundamental ethical principles such as respect for persons, beneficence, and justice. These principles have since become the cornerstone of ethical research practices, ensuring that the rights and welfare of participants are protected. Another significant reform was the creation of institutional review boards, IRBs, to oversee research involving human subjects. IRBs are responsible for reviewing research protocols to ensure compliance with ethical standards and protect participants' rights and welfare. The requirement for IRB approval has become a fundamental aspect of research practices, providing an essential layer of protection against unethical experimentation. The exposure of MKUltra also had a profound impact on the public's perception of the CIA and other intelligence agencies. The revelations of the program's abuses fueled a growing sense of distrust and skepticism towards government institutions. This erosion of trust was compounded by other scandals and revelations of misconduct, such as the FBI's COINTELPRO operations, which targeted civil rights activists and political dissidents. The cumulative effect of these scandals was a deep-seated wariness of government power and a heightened demand for transparency and accountability. The cultural impact of MKUltra has been significant, influencing literature, film, and popular culture. The program has become a symbol of the dangers of unchecked governmental power and the potential for abuse in the name of national security. Numerous books, films, and documentaries have explored the dark history of MKUltra, blending fact and fiction to examine themes of mind control, government secrecy, and the manipulation of reality. Works such as The Manchurian Candidate, Stranger Things, and American Ultra draw on elements of MKUltra, reflecting ongoing societal concerns about the balance between security and human rights. The legacy of MKUltra also includes ongoing efforts by survivors and their families to seek justice and reparations. Many victims of MKUltra's experiments have pursued legal action against the CIA and other institutions involved in the program. These efforts have faced significant challenges, including statutes of limitations and the difficulty of proving harm decades after the experiments were conducted. However, the determination of survivors to hold the government accountable has kept the issue in the public eye and underscored the long-lasting impact of the program. In recent years, there have been renewed calls for transparency and accountability regarding MKUltra and other covert government programs. Advocacy groups and human rights organizations have pushed for the declassification of remaining documents and for a full accounting of the CIA's activities. These efforts reflect a broader movement towards greater government transparency and the protection of civil liberties in the face of security concerns. The lessons learned from MKUltra continue to resonate today, informing debates about the ethical implications of research and the limits of government power. The program serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of ethical standards, transparency, and accountability in protecting human rights and dignity. It highlights the need for vigilance in ensuring that the pursuit of knowledge and security does not come at the expense of individual well-being. In conclusion, the exposure and aftermath of MKUltra marked a critical turning point in public awareness and understanding of government overreach and abuse. The revelations of the program's activities led to significant changes in how intelligence agencies operated and how the government handled issues of transparency and ethics in research. MKUltra's legacy is a powerful reminder of the need to uphold ethical principles and protect human rights in all aspects of research and intelligence activities. The ongoing efforts to seek justice and accountability for the abuses committed under MKUltra underscore the importance of confronting and learning from the dark chapters of our history. The legacy and implications of MKUltra continue to echo through the decades, shaping policies, ethics, and public perceptions of government power and scientific research. The exposure of MKUltra's dark secrets marked a pivotal moment in American history, leading to significant reforms and a heightened awareness of the potential for governmental abuse. This chapter delves into the various dimensions of MKUltra's lasting impact, from changes in ethical standards and legal frameworks to its influence on culture and ongoing debates about government accountability and transparency. The immediate aftermath of MKUltra's exposure led to a wave of legislative and regulatory changes aimed at preventing similar abuses in the future. The National Research Act of 1974 was a direct response to the ethical violations committed under MKUltra and other unethical research practices that had come to light. This act established the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research, which was tasked with creating ethical guidelines to govern research involving human subjects. The Commission's work culminated in the Belmont Report, published in 1979, which laid out fundamental ethical principles: respect for persons, beneficence, and justice. The Belmont Report has since become the cornerstone of modern research ethics. It emphasizes the importance of informed consent, the obligation to maximize benefits and minimize harm, and the need to ensure that the benefits and burdens of research are distributed fairly. These principles have been incorporated into federal regulations and institutional policies, guiding researchers in conducting ethical studies and protecting the rights and welfare of participants. The establishment of institutional review boards, IRBs, was another significant outcome, providing a formal mechanism for reviewing and approving research protocols to ensure they meet ethical standards. The legacy of MKUltra also had a profound impact on the regulation of intelligence activities and the oversight of government agencies. The Church Committee, established in 1975, played a crucial role in uncovering the extent of the CIA's abuses and recommending reforms to prevent future misconduct. The committee's findings led to the establishment of permanent intelligence oversight committees in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. These committees are tasked with providing ongoing scrutiny of intelligence activities, ensuring greater transparency and accountability. The creation of these oversight bodies marked a significant step towards preventing abuses of power and restoring public trust in the intelligence community. The revelations of MKUltra also spurred changes in the legal landscape. particularly concerning the protection of individual rights against government overreach. The Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, initially enacted in 1966, gained renewed importance as a tool for promoting transparency and accountability. The MK Ultra scandal highlighted the necessity of robust mechanisms for the public to access government records and hold officials accountable for their actions. Subsequent amendments to FOIA have aimed to strengthen its provisions and ensure that government agencies cannot easily withhold information from the public. The cultural impact of MK Ultra has been significant, influencing literature, film, and popular culture. The program has become a symbol of the dangers of unchecked governmental power and the potential for abuse in the name of national security. Numerous books, films, and documentaries have explored the dark history of MK Ultra, blending fact and fiction to examine themes of mind control, government secrecy, and the manipulation of reality. Works such as The Manchurian Candidate, Stranger Things, and American Ultra draw on elements of MK Ultra, reflecting ongoing societal concerns about the balance between security and human rights. The psychological and social impact of MK Ultra on its victims cannot be overstated. Many individuals who were subjected to the program's experiments suffered lasting psychological and physical harm. The trauma inflicted by these experiments often led to chronic mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Survivors of MK Ultra and their families have faced significant challenges in seeking justice and recognition for the suffering they endured. Efforts to obtain reparations and official apologies have been ongoing, highlighting the long-term consequences of the program and the need for accountability. The exposure of MK Ultra also had a profound impact on public trust in government institutions. The revelations of the program's abuses fueled a growing sense of distrust and skepticism towards the CIA and other intelligence agencies. This erosion of trust was compounded by other scandals and revelations of misconduct, such as the FBI's COINTELPRO operations, which targeted civil rights activists and political dissidents. The cumulative effect of these scandals was a deep-seated wariness of government power and a heightened demand for transparency and accountability. The lessons learned from MK Ultra continue to resonate today, informing debates about the ethical implications of research and the limits of government power. The program serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of ethical standards, transparency, and accountability in protecting human rights and dignity. It highlights the need for vigilance in ensuring that the pursuit of knowledge and security does not come at the expense of individual well-being. The legacy of MK Ultra extends to ongoing discussions about the ethical use of emerging technologies and techniques in research and intelligence. Advances in neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and biotechnology present new opportunities for understanding and influencing human behavior. But they also raise significant ethical and moral questions. The history of MK Ultra underscores the importance of maintaining robust ethical frameworks and oversight mechanisms to prevent the misuse of these technologies and protect individual rights. In recent years, there have been renewed calls for transparency and accountability regarding MK Ultra and other covert government programs. Advocacy groups and human rights organizations have pushed for the declassification of remaining documents and for a full accounting of the CIA's activities. These efforts reflect a broader movement towards greater government transparency and the protection of civil liberties in the face of security concerns. The ongoing interest in MK Ultra highlights the importance of confronting and learning from the dark chapters of our history to ensure that such abuses are never repeated. The MK Ultra scandal has also influenced how intelligence agencies conduct psychological and behavioral research. The ethical breaches committed under MK Ultra prompted significant reforms within the intelligence community, emphasizing the need for transparency, accountability, and respect for human rights. These reforms have shaped the way intelligence agencies approach research and experimentation, ensuring that ethical considerations are at the forefront of their activities. The long-term impact of MK Ultra on psychological research and therapy has been significant. The program's misuse of psychological techniques and mind-altering substances led to a reevaluation of the ethical responsibilities of psychologists and psychiatrists involved in research and government programs. Professional organizations, such as the American Psychological Association, APA, have since developed stricter ethical guidelines to prevent the misuse of psychological knowledge and techniques. These guidelines emphasize the importance of informed consent, respect for autonomy, and the ethical use of psychological interventions. The legacy of MK Ultra also serves as a cautionary tale for other nations and international organizations. The ethical breaches and human rights violations committed under MK Ultra highlight the potential for abuse in covert operations and the importance of maintaining rigorous ethical standards and oversight. International human rights organizations have drawn on the lessons of MK Ultra to advocate for stronger protections against government abuses and to promote accountability and transparency in intelligence operations worldwide. In conclusion, the legacy and implications of MK Ultra are far-reaching, encompassing significant changes in ethical standards, legal frameworks, and public perceptions of government power and scientific research. The exposure of MK Ultra's dark secrets led to important reforms aimed at preventing similar abuses in the future and ensuring greater transparency and accountability in government operations. The program's history serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of upholding ethical principles and protecting human rights in all aspects of research and intelligence activities. The ongoing efforts to seek justice and accountability for the abuses committed under MK Ultra underscore the need for vigilance in confronting and learning from the dark chapters of our history to ensure that such abuses are never repeated. The legacy of MK Ultra continues to shape the American political landscape and influence debates about the ethical use of emerging technologies and the balance between security and individual rights. The story of MK Ultra is a chilling reminder of the potential for abuse when power is unchecked and secrecy prevails. It stands as a testament to the resilience of those who fought to bring the truth to light and a warning of the dangers that lurk in the shadows of government. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the depths of MK Ultra. If you found this story intriguing, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned for more deep dives into the world's most captivating mysteries and conspiracies.